Sentai Donbrothers. So real quick, as you guys know, probably definitely know from like Instagram and TikTok, I have been diving into tokusatsu really hard the last couple of months. And honestly, it's been fun. Watching classics are always fun. Watching classic comic writers always fun. But I did want to watch something a little more modern. But I also want to watch something super goofy. So I decided that like my first Sentai I was going to watch from top to bottom was going to be Avataro Sentai Donbrothers. And the background on this one is it's the 47th installment of the Super Sentai series. For you guys who don't know, Super Sentai is the brother property that Power Rangers comes from. One good thing about Sentai is that Sentai loves to celebrate itself. So while watching Avataro Sentai Donbrothers, which even though it's not an anniversary season, shows a lot of suits from throughout the 46 years of Super Sentai, it did have a collaboration movie with the 45th anniversary season, Zenkaiger, and it had a collaboration movie with Osama Sentai King Onger, which we are going to talk about all of those properties. But real quick, this story is based off folklore about a boy who was born in the Peach. It is a really good story about a young boy going to the Oni Island to fight evil Onis. And as you dig into the history of the Legend of Momotaro, you know that it became a World War II film to kind of spread Japanese propaganda because it was a public domain and people just made stories based off of it, which is the reason why this show exists. Like you can just use Momotaro's likeness. And yes, the Momotaro motif is used a little bit in this show. As you're getting through the show, you learn that the Dawn clan, the clan that gave birth to Don Momotaro and the other Dawn characters, they made this strike force of the Dawn brothers after this story. And they added the Oni into this team because they even believe yesterday's enemies can be today's allies. And I love that that is the central theme of this show. That in the ongoing pursuit of keeping order in this world, our true allies are those who want to protect this world. And those who want to keep the status quo, especially when that status quo is hurting so many people, those are the true villains. And that is the messaging that is put into a kids show meant for like Saturday morning cartoons. But we will talk about that when we get into the characters. Let's talk about the actual Dawn brothers themselves. So what you got on this is the one in the center red. You have Taro Momo. It's weird because Momotaro is kind of just there. He has the very big character trait about Momotaro is that he cannot lie. And in that, he is one of the most earnest characters in this show. He doesn't really go through a character arc in this show. He kind of has this flat character arc similar to like Goku. So we're actually seeing that how the world and the other Dawn brothers interact with this pure-hearted guy who could be bullheaded sometimes, but he never lets that bullheadedness get in the way of hurting his team. He never let his cockiness get in the way of the mission. He just wants to make sure that the Dawn brothers are strong and ready for any threats. In that sense that he can't lie, he's a very honorable young man. He has this, he'll fight anyone to the fullest and he'll never lie to them, never hold back. And he's a delivery boy, always trying to help. In his day job being a delivery boy, he's always trying to help the people that he delivers to. There's this ongoing plot point where some of the plots will literally happen because a person that we deliver to needs help. Someone that we deliver to has like a personal problem, and that will be the whole plot for the Dawn Brothers episode. So I really do like that about Momotaro. His flat character arc really does drive the plot. He's also in, like, you get to meet him in like Zenkaiger, and he's pretty much like a kind of a light version of himself. But I do like him. And he has a crazy cool costume. He has that peach in the middle of his head to signify the Momotaro motif. But outside the suit, he's just a very slender young man, always having kind of like that anime protagonist look on him. I love Momotaro. Really good dude. Really good dude. I do like that, like, his catchphrase is born from a peach, Don Momotaro. He's always calling his friends his companions. When he fights, he says, it's a festival, it's a festival. And it's just the palanquin. It's just a mode when it's just a sight when he's on. But his number one statement that I love is, even if we brush shoulders, a bond has been formed. Meaning, even the lightest connection, even the smallest moment could bring us together. And I like that. Now, usually when we talk about Sentai characters and Red Rangers, I instantly want to go to the Blue Ranger because the Blue Ranger is usually the foil for the Red Ranger. But we actually have to go over to our Yellow Ranger, our only female ranger on this team, Haruka Kuto, aka Oni sister. I love her. Oni sister is actually my favorite character out of the Donbrothers. Her costume is based off the Oni from the Legend of Momotaro, the villain. So they use that as her being like our insert character for the first couple episodes. We do learn that she is a mangaka. She's an aspiring mangaka. And at the beginning of the show, she has wrote her first award-winning manga. But because Donbrothers has crazy plot points, she is cast as a plagiarist. They say that she plagiarized her manga. And the whole entire plot for her for the most of this show is trying to figure out where this plagiarism claim came from. She's really quirky, really goofy. She is such an eccentric character. And she just knows how to act. It's crazy to see, like, a lot of people like to criticize like Japanese live action characters for not being very expressive. But I mean, I have a gif of this girl going on my phone. Haruka, man, hold up. The actress. Let me not call her Haruka. Because the actress also took over Unicorn in the latest season of Donbrothers. But I don't know, like, Kuha Suda is just a good actress. Like, just put her in more things. Get her out of the Sentai and put her in some actual TV shows. Because she just has an expressive acting that really brings like this youthful Haruka alive. Haruka is like the little sister, the youngest, the goofball. Because she works at the cafe that the Donbrothers bases out of, we get to see her interaction. And she's just a quirky little kid. Always trying to help people, always trying to make her manga, always just trying to get where the action and energy is at. And she is just so, like, when she meets these friends of hers, she wants to help. Like, she instantly makes a bond with the Blue Ranger. She wants to be Momotaro's companion and see what Taro is in real life. Once she gets to learn a bit more about the Pink Ranger, she likes him too. But also, she is the driving force of meeting the rival team. Her chief editor is one of the villains for pretty much the good part of the arc. And that little childish energy she brings really brings out the good in him. Haruko is just such a solid character. And I like her. She does turn into a villain for one little episode. Because I want to say this is most modern Sentai, the suit monsters, the alien monsters, the villain monsters, for this season at least comes from human desire. When the human desire gets too wild, a human turns into what I believe is called a Hotoku? Hirosuke? And she even turns into a Hirosuke for a little bit when she obsesses over her manga. So our heroes are not flawless. And I like that even the heroes can sometimes fall to being villains. I think that might be a theme with all of them. They all turn into villains for like an episode or two. But yes, there's also a plot point where she goes into like a future version of herself pops up. That's really cool. Where she dons like the Golden Dawn Oni sister suit. That suit was fire. Okay, as we're going through our characters, I do want to talk about Tsubasa. So I'm going to run into like the other three real quick. Speaking of a character that I actually was surprised didn't get more of a character focused episode would be Sanuchi Saruhara, aka Saru brother. He's the Blue Ranger of our team. He is a working poet. He is an artist. Actually, like, what is his actual job? Because I know that he says haikus all the time. I think he's actually an artist. I know that in the alternate or in one episode, no, in the movie, he becomes a cram school teacher. So he's an intellect. He's an educator, and honestly, that's what his super suit turns him more into. This is more of a kind of like pretentious guy going to Rabaz Day, spouting haikus and seeing how his wisdom can help others. And I do like through the Blue Ranger, we do get to dig into why some of the Don brothers are Don brothers. Because Saru brother, he does have a couple of like focus episodes on him, but he never gets like a plot line. But what we do get to do is that we get to learn that the Don brothers, that title of being Don brothers gets passed on. Our team is a Super Sentai team of Don brothers, but the Don brothers title gets brought down person by person. And Sanuchi, he does care about people. He cares about life. He is a guy who does believe that the evils in the world should be perished, and being paid for those, like being paid for something, is a little bit of evil. So he is a superhero for justice. He is a artist for love, and he is a mentor for those who need it. He gets his charity from Taro and everybody else. So he just craves his creativity and his freedom. And that plays to a lot of the plot lines. I think that also gives us a reason why Saru Brothers in a lot of the episodes and why he kind of hops around the plot lines. Like for the first 23, it is just Kijino, Haruka hopping around plot point to plot point. And him being unemployed is kind of a reason why. But that doesn't mean he's any less useful. His super suit is a gorilla, and he fights like a gorilla, really good punches, hops around, very agile. That freedom in his personality translates to his fighting style. And when he goes into a Takudo, when he goes into a villain, he does it because he's obsessed on making the perfect poem. But not too much to say about Saru Brother. Really good character. I think we start getting a little more into like these guys, like we start getting into some really interesting plot points when we get into both Tsubasa and Kijino, because their plot line is tied together. Even though this is a kid show, there's a love triangle. Tsubasa is the Black Ranger, and one of the two fully CGI Rangers. When he transforms into the little puppy guy. And his whole entire thing is, before the plot of the show, one of the monsters that we're fighting kidnapped his acting troupe, kidnapped his girlfriend from the acting troupe. And his goal is to find her. And that's what he does the whole entire season. And he is supposed to represent what love is supposed to do for a warrior. Tsubasa loves, what is his name? Her name. It's not Miho. It's not Nasumi. He loves Nasumi. Throughout the show, you're shown like the times that he fell in love with her, them acting, them expressing their different dreams outside of acting, how Tsubasa wants to be a chef growing up, how she wants to be a hairdresser. They fell in love because they were young in an acting trope. And when she got kidnapped, he vowed to save her. And you learn that the secondary villains in the show have been kidnapping people and replacing them with the foot soldiers. So Tsunami is in this forest hooked up to a tree, and her likeness is being used on Earth, which leads us to our Pink Ranger, Kijino. Kijino is our Pink Ranger Kiji brother. He is in the full CGI burst suit. Sometimes he changes in Sun Vulcan. He has access to like all the Sun Vulcan and all the Gal Ranger gears. So sometimes he transforms into like those two suits. So like the suit actor can actually do stuff. But he is our wife boy. He is 33, which is honestly one of the oldest Rangers in this show. Like, I didn't feel bad watching this kid show when I realized Kijino is the same age as me. Or a year older than me, actually. But he is dead set on becoming a superhero to protect his wife. And that's all he does. Every episode, like all his episodes are focused on, is his job interfering with him at home? Is being a superhero interfering with him being a husband? Is his wife safe? When you learn that his wife, which, not let me call her by the Miho, and it's crazy. I wish they would have told us that like they're newlyweds. That would have been even crazier. But in the beginning of the show, he's married to Miho. And then you learn throughout the show that something is really weird with Miho. She looks a lot like Tsubasa's girlfriend. I'm not gonna call that girl's name right now, but Natsumi. And that is a ongoing mystery literally until like 2 or 3 episodes to the end. And Kijino is in love with Miho. Because Miho is just Natsumi's dreams being played out, it is basically just Natsumi. The same kind-hearted soul, the same nice, sweet lady. But, I mean, she doesn't have memories of her previous life. And she met good boy Kinjiro, who honestly loves her to death. But I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Kinjiro is one of the Donbrothers that is always changing into a villain. Because his desire to keep Miho safe is so strong, he changes like 4 different times in the show to different villains. And it's crazy that like in his 4th attempt, they make a joke that comedy works in 3s. So they have to do so much remixing when he becomes a villain again. It's just such a good joke. He does eventually get with Natsumi. They eventually do become a couple. Natsumi ends up, after being saved by Tsubasa, realize, hey, Tsubasa, because Tsubasa used his points to save, because something happened with Tsubasa that made unfortune go on him, and we'll talk about that when we get to another character. A lot of misfortune happens to Tsubasa, but I think because Tsubasa also is a kid and he doesn't know how to tell people how he feels, he just can't. I feel like a lot of things about him is just tell the girl what's going on, bro. Tell her you're a superhero. She falls out of love with him, and she falls into her feelings with Kijino. This doesn't really mess with Tsubasa or Kijiro much. They still are good friends, good people, because they are the ones those two actually help each other the most throughout the season. Kijiro knows who Inu brother Inuzuku is, so they're always back and forth. When, Miho, aka Namasi, eventually picks Kijiro, they still get to be friends, and it's really crazy. And that's because throughout this season, there are, I guess we'll talk about the other Dons, but before we talk about them, we gotta talk about the villains. We gotta talk about our rival team. Now, I'm going to pull up a look of all of the boys. Let's pull that up. Browse. So yeah, let's pull. Oh, that's super cool. Let's pull up the toy line. This is kind of crazy that the toy line is all here. The toy line is all there. Okay, so let's pull up the toy line so I can actually just show you who's who. So we're gonna go with blue armor in the center. That is Susanoo. Susanoo is the member of the Nato. The Nato are the villains of pretty much the villains of the show. They are just otherworldly beings. They're not really aliens. They're not really they're not aliens. They're not digital life forms, but they are kind of the Natos are manifestations of the human will to keep the world safe. The Natos are meant to make sure that humans are safe, make sure that the humans don't get into too much trouble, and to make sure that humans are not being experimented on. They're just meant to make sure that the humans are safe. But in that mission, they have the ability to capture humans. They have the abilities to put humans in micro prisons. And when they fight the suit aliens and kill them, instead of the humans just turning back, they get put into pocket dimensions so their desires can't get out of control again. The middle guy is Suno. He is kind of the leader of the villains. A pretty funny guy. And he is kind of the foil to Momotaro. They are kind of they are the red and the blue. If someone was really the Blue Ranger to Momotaro, it would be Susanoo. Because their personalities are so alike, yet because Susanoo believes in his mission, and that's a really good thing. When we're talking about the central theme of Donbrothers, and that theme being yesterday's almost lost that one. When we're talking about Donbrothers' central themes being yesterday's opponents can be today's allies when the mission is world peace, no relationship signifies that the best than Don Momotaro and Suno, where these two are both headstrong leaders, some of the leaders of their respective groups, master swordsmen. They both got that protagonist cocky energy, where Don Momotaro would do the good for the people. He will analyze the situation and do what's good in that moment. And you see that a lot of the times in the way that he changes battle plans in the middle of the episode. How he sometimes would do random things in the middle of a fight to get the best outcome. Suno is, in the sense, the mission. Because Susuno knows he has to just make sure that humans do not turn into the monsters, he does not take that mission with like a fluid thought process. When he sees a villain, like sees a human turn into the monster, he's quick to slice him down and trap them and not let that human resolve that issue. His way or the highway. He believes that you have to remove a problem, not just solve it. And that is a very like stagnant mindset where Suno believes in like exterminating a problem, Momotaro believes in solving a problem. And that's where that personal relationship sits. Good actor. I like how none of the human characters have like black eyes. Everyone who's like another worldly being has blue eyes. That's another big thing with Suno. But as we're also talking about some of these characters, ooh, I like how this pictures design has them all, has them paired together. I like that. But another member of the Nato, another one of the Natos would be Tsunone. Now, Tsunone is known as the crown dress. And I really do like her bit in this show. She would be this one. I do like her bit in the show. She is looking to find someone who can appreciate her beauty. Someone who can appreciate beauty. And I think it's nice. She's interested in the love affairs of the human world, making sure she's trying to figure out what love is. And she really gets attached to Tsubasa, not them. She really gets attached to Tsubasa. Because the first time when she met Tsubasa, Tsubasa explained his love for Natsumi so purely. And he didn't fall for Sunone's womanly charge. She took a liking to him. And through watching him, she understood what love is. Spoiler alert for the whole entire show. 3, 2, 1. These two end up falling in love. Where I think brother Tsubasa finds that, hey, sometimes you need to let love happen to you. Susuno learns what love really is, what appreciation really is, what being with someone and going through struggles is. And these two are really cute together. I like her little arrows and I like her little suit. Also, like when we get to Donbrothers, it is funny, like when we get to Donbrothers versus King Ranger, because we spent so many times with Suno, so much time with Suno, that like we really do get to see these two interact with their human companions, and that's super. Okay. And then one last one, I gotta talk about the other villain. Yo, Tsunose. Tsunose was my goat, yo. Okay, so I said it earlier in this breakdown where I said that like, hey, Oni Sister's my favorite. That honestly put Suzune as automatically my favorite villain. He is trying to figure out what human enjoyment is, what human laugh is, what human emotions is. And he learns this the first time he was ever touched by emotions. He was reading Oni Sister's manga. So I really like how that is a plot point with these two. Through Suzune, he's like, first time you meet him, he's running around Tokyo, or I want to just assume it's Tokyo, being like, hey, teach me how to smile. Hey, show me your grin. Hey, ha ha ha. But it's when he reads Oni Sister's manga and he actually genuinely laughs, he genuinely cries, he genuinely goes through like what the artist is trying to portray. that he learns a little bit more about emotions. And I like that. He has this cool little spear and he's really aggressive. For some reason, there's this plot point in the show where like anyone who interacts with Haruka is very blunt and very aggressive with her. But I kind of shows that like that's what she kind of needs. She needs a very strong personality with her because she's a strong personality. And that relationship is so strong with like early her and Momotaro, where Momotaro's always knocking her around, swinging her around until she gets it. She gets like, hey, I just want you to stand proud with me. She gets that same energy with Tsunose. And Tsunose is just Tsunose learns how to be much more caring, how to be a supportive person, because he stays on as her full-time editor, because he just gets it. He gets what she needs to portray. I love these two. Nice little personality. Okay. Now, as I sat here and talked about all these characters, we didn't talk about the other two. We did not get to talk about Don Momotane. So, Jiro Momotane is technically our like sixth ranger. If you guys know Power Rangers, he would be classified as our sixth ranger. But he is, actually, I do kind of want to read like his history, because he kind of has the same history as Momotaro, like born from a peach, blah, blah, blah. But where Momotaro was given like freedom, Don Jiro was like groomed. Like they needed this guy to be able to be Momotaro's successor just in case. And that's kind of like Don Dragon's, Don Tartaro's whole thing. He develops like a split personality, boop and boop, because he has this inferiority complex. And in that personality, he's always trying to one-up Taro, always trying to be the leader of the Donbrothers, always trying to be the strongest. And it usually gets him in trouble. They really don't like messing with him. And he also is really cocky. But the two personalities do merge, and he's able to switch between them in his power suit. And when he merges, he doesn't become like the best character, but he does become a little more of a complete character that's able to like play on storyline a little bit more. I do like that like the movie kind of shows more of like complete Jiro. That's one thing I liked about these movies. These movies continue the story, both even the narrative, like narratively where these characters were at. And because Donbrothers is not focused on villains, you do get to see Jiro be more full of himself once he becomes complete. And he is the leader of the Donbrothers. And he's not ready to be the leader. That's why in the movie, Momotaro has to come back. But I like him. I like his goofiness. He even gets a cool Dawn form. And then the last character, and the character I think is done, who was not given the most justice, Don Muramasa. So Don Muramasa is like our seventh ranger. He is another creation. He is a virtual creation from the Don clan, and he is literally meant to keep the Donbrothers in check. I wish they would have done more with him. I do like that he's a purple shark. When he turns into a Zord himself, and he's just a dark reflection of the Megazord that our team makes. I just wish they would have done more with his character. You don't see him in any of the movies. That's kind of breaks my heart. This was probably like Don Muramasa was probably the most wasted potential when it came to Donbrothers. Maybe once I get more little production notes and stuff, I might soften up on that opinion. But I felt like Don Muramasa should have definitely gotten more attention, more love, a complete storyline. He shouldn't have just knocked out whatever trance he was in at the end of the show just because. They should have gave more for him, especially if like in this story of like villains, or like in a story where we're talking about people joining this big team, joining the Donbrothers, and old villains, old antagonists joining this team. If Muramasa would have just had a coming to age story, if he just would have just had one episode where he would have found a reason to protect, even if it was just the animals, the birds, all of that stuff, it would have been perfect. But Don Muramasa is probably the most wasted potential out of the Donbrothers. So yeah, that was that part. Let's talk about this plot a little bit. So it is kind of hard to talk about the plot of Donbrothers because it's not like there's really a plot. Humans turn into the Hikoshis. Yeah, humans turn into the Hikoshis when their desires get too out of the way. This team of the Donbrothers are an official Sentai team which is a different thing. Donbrothers being a group and Sentai being a group. This is the intersection of them. And you kind of do learn that like the Donbrothers are meant to just keep order, make sure evil is like human desires don't get out of hand, and they're more of a strike force, like most superhero teams. But in that, like we learn a little bit about forgiveness. We learn in the role of like the will of forgiveness. There's literally a thing called the will of forgiveness. But this show is very much about coming to a common good. But because the humans are turning into the Hikoshis, because this is like an active threat to humanity all the time, and there's not like there's one thing that's like there's not one thing causing it. Like becoming a Hikoshi is just a natural thing about being a human and letting your desires get out of hand. There's no big bag to fight. We're really just trying to keep this under control. And I think not having a big bag leads to that, hey, yesterday's enemies could be today's allies. That's really shown in that, with not having like a super central antagonist. Yeah, you really can't see like the evil rangers are that bad. I think what also threw me through a loop with this, and I guess, yeah, let's talk about this plot real quick. Because there is no central villain in this show, the episodes are really crazy in my opinion. Ooh, wait, there's an extra episode I haven't seen, High School Heroes. We'll get to that later. Yeah, but because there's like not really like an like central villain, it is kind of hard to figure out like where do we talk about the episodes? Like, where do I start? Everything's named after Dawn. So everything starts with Dawn. There's like the first couple episodes is really getting to know everybody and learn the villains. And as you're watching this episode, you get to meet the Nyoto trio and they're fighting the Donbrothers. I think honestly, it's kind of pretty early in this show that about the 25 episode mark that we kind of get to the point where like we are questioning why we're fighting the Natos, why we're fighting the villains. Like in the beginning, the conflict is we need to protect the humans from the Natos. Even though we all kind of have the same job, we don't have the same solution to that. We don't have the same solution to our goals. Even though we have the same goals and the same job, because we have different applications of that job, the Sentais are our Sentai team approach to dealing with the monsters is to defeat them and let these humans deal with their eternal struggles. The Naotos are to eliminate the humans with their struggles. The first 25 episodes is really about that conflict, teaching the Naotos that, hey, humans will solve their own issues at some point. These eternal conflicts that are turning them into supernatural monsters. The supernatural monster part is what we should be dealing with. Let the humans deal with their own issues. Don't just kidnap and eliminate these guys. And because there's also like 2 active missing people cases going on in the first 25 episodes, there's also kind of this thing sitting in the back of your head, like, is the Naoto the reason why like people are getting stolen? Then like kind of towards the end, you kind of learn that like there's another faction of monsters kidnapping humans too. And they're the ones who are kidnapping like random humans. And you got to deal with those, the Hitoshis. And then you realize the Hitoshis are just, oh no, there's the bestial villains. There's another set of foot soldier style villains called the Hitoshis. And they're very interesting too. They kidnap humans to replace them to keep them safe. But in keeping them safe, they kind of take over their lives and they're hunting down the other bestials. The bestials don't get along. And since the bestials are all supposed to stay in the forest, the different factions of the bestials fight each other until there's like just one faction. That is really interesting, but the bestials are not meant to be in the human world. There are the mistakes of the Dawn clan trying to keep the human world, trying to find an automatic peacekeeping core for the humans who go out of control. And it just does not work. But that is a very light plot point. Like that's not even like the interesting part of the show. Like I'm explaining to you like the conflict of the show, but that's not why you watch it. I'm looking through these episodes and like I said on TikTok, the appeal of watching this show is watching these 6 to 9 heroes interact with each other every day. Sure, they have the same mission. They have different approaches to the same mission and the same goal, but those little differences are what makes the plot points. There's this whole entire thing about there's this whole entire episode about Taro and Suno wanting to fight each other. But because Taro believes in doing his day job and Suno doesn't believe in disturbing humans, they have to sit here and do all of Taro's deliveries for the day. And at the end of the day, they still fight, but they've been fighting for like 25 episodes at that point. There's no clear winners. There's not a clear winner until Suno he has to cheat. Suno kind of does some unshady stuff, some super shady stuff to win the first time. But you really don't get a clear victory until these guys kind of accept that they're very much alike each other. They're very much like each other. And that's when you kind of start getting like Taro losing and Suno losing, and then the supervisors kick in, and then we got to start fighting the bestials, because even though like we are not actual enemies, we now have to deal with the humans being kidnapped, and we know if you defeat the bestials, that might be bad. So we have to try a different way to approach this, and that's the fun part. But what throws me through a loop is that honestly, the final arc, the final like 5-10 episodes, everything after Santa, the 8-episode arc towards the end, where we start resolving the bestials, we start resuming the Nasumi plot line. This is where you kind of get a lot of good TV. You get, because of Momotaro's legend, Momoi or Don Momotaro is losing his memories. And the last couple episodes are really showing, because Momotaro doesn't have a big character arc in this show, we're seeing all of the little bits of joy that Momotaro has brought into everybody's life. How Momotaro has made Haruka more confident in her art. How he's made Saru brother a little more chill. How he's made Inu brother and Taro don't have the best relationship, but how Inu brother kind of does feel now has a place to belong because Taro has fostered that with the Donbrothers. And how Kijino is still a goofball. Kijiro's just crashing out in the last couple episodes. But yeah, you get this look at like how this flat character has changed all these people's lives. How he's made the Natos believe in protecting humans, not just keeping the human world safe. And that last episode where the Nato supervisors are coming to like kill everybody, it's Haruka's manga that gives Momotaro just enough memories to save his friends. And that's a really nice place to leave off on number 5. I've only watched 2 of the movies. I haven't watched Donbrothers' The New First Love, but I have watched both Donbrothers Zen versus Zenkaiser, which we're going to talk about that, and Donbrothers versus King Ogers. And honestly, I think these movies, because they're naturally versus movies, and versus movies make 2 Sentai teams fight each other, they automatically go with that once enemies can be allies theme. Zenkaiser, and now that I'm saying it more out loud, Zenkaiser takes a very interesting way. The Zenkaiser movie takes a very interesting way to handling that. Because in the Zenkaiser one, I do not like the Zenkaiser movie. Let's just be straight up here. I straight up had this so ass meme in my head when I was watching this movie. This is not a fun movie. The Zenkaisers, even though they're the Zenkaiser is a fun group, I think because the Zenkaiser show is just too colorful and kiddish, too childish, can't do it. Not opting in. But yeah, this is not the best. It kind of follows the Zenkaisers right after the end of their first episode when they get back to their home world and they find distortions. And Zenkaiser White, I'm gonna call it Zenkaiser White, notices distortion in his world. At the same time, in the Donbrothers world, it's been a year since Taro left, and Jiro has kind of made it so that all the Donbrothers live their ideal lives, and they just come and help him every once in a while. Jiro, trying to be a control freak, pretty much gets everybody wanting to quit until Taro comes back. Gets everybody excited to be Donbrothers again after telling them like, hey, yo, y'all are not meant to be being at home and being nerds all day. You learn that the Donbrothers kind of broke up because Suno lost to Taro. But because the worlds are merging, Kaiser is trying to steal all the mochi. I don't care. Zenkaisers and the Donbrothers have to group together. And then then Taro decides he's going to train the Donbrothers again. And to be honest with you, because I think Zenkaiser is just so goofy, so random, even more random than Donbrothers, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into this movie, which is funny because when we're talking about the next movie, it's completely different. Ana Sentai King Ogers, and I guess because it is a King Oger event, versus Donbrothers, the top poster. I think because King Oger is definitely a different type of Sentai, a more serious and not very serious Sentai, a more serious Sentai that's about kingdoms, and it has a little bit of politics in it. I don't know why everybody is so afraid of that word politics. Politics is not a volatile word. Politics is a good word. You should want politics in your show. Because remember, the word politics only means seemingly sensible and deduction under circumstances. It's as an action. But hold up. Politics just mean the actions of seeming sensible and judicious under certain circumstances, aka making sensible and decent judgment calls under a set of conditions. So when I say that this show is very good because of the politics, and it is a show about kings and queens, watching a show that like centers around that and like all those little aspects is cool. I did get a little bit of King Oger lore before I watched this. I really do like all the kings. All the kings want to be special kings in their own special way. Very kid-like way to attend to royalty. But when we're watching the Donbrothers movie, one, I didn't say this in the other one, but there is a reoccurring villain in Donbrothers. One of the guys who has just immense desires. I think the guy just has straight up main character energy. He's always turning into different types of Hakoshis. And he turns into the Hakoshi at the beginning of the last movie. And I should have known when I saw that King logo for it that he was going to be part of this movie. But the King Hakoshi from the last movie and the Ninja Hakoshi, blah, 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 the Hakoshi, recurring Hakoshi is the main villain for this. He kind of makes a cool little isekai joke about how middle-aged men, when they get reincarnated to different worlds, become stronger. That's really goofy. But I do like how you're bringing the silliness of Avataro Sentai Donbrothers into the more serious tone of King Ogers, the nonsensical plots to King Ogers. And then you're also kind of getting that this King Ogers, like, hey, what it is to be a king kind of motif. My favorite part of this movie is watching the two Yellow Rangers go back and forth about what is the point of kids shows. And this is what I wanted to make a TikTok about. It is very interesting, and Avataro Sentai Donbrothers versus Osama Sentai King Ogers, that one of my favorite parts is watching the two Yellow Rangers fight about what is important about kid TV shows. Where the King Onger Yellow Ranger says, I make kid TV shows for little kids to enjoy. I don't want them reading too deep into the context. Suno and the Purple Ranger, they argue that kids can really see the deeper meanings about shows. So you should make kid shows with good lessons, good morals, good entertainment, because kids can see the subtext. And that is a crazy little interaction. Everybody's arguing, everybody's going back and forth. It's just, that's my favorite act, like my favorite scene in the entire movie. But I do also like how this plot really starts with the fact that Momotaro had a beetle as a friend in his show, and he wants to see the beetle one last time. So, and it's even cute because you do see the spirit of the beetle. It's super cute. But man, I just had a good time watching Donbrothers, guys. It was just a good show. I didn't need anything with some super crazy high levels, high thought. Everything that is deep doesn't need to present itself deep. The best thing about kid shows, especially my favorite thing about kid shows when it comes to if they're deep or not, it's not so much that they try to make it deep by putting very deep dialogue in it or very crazy words in it. Sometimes a good kids TV show is deep because it shows people actively working through their problems in some type, with a overarching theme being the point. when Don Brothers is about yesterday's enemies can be today's allies. And honestly, every episode shows, well, that being a theme, and then like human desire needs to be checked. Those two things being like the conjunction of why these two teams fight, why they come together, why certain people from the Don Brothers teams and the Natos teams get along. Because at the end of the day, we all are just trying to keep the earth safe. Why does your mission, because your mission is given by some crazy higher ups, mean we can't work together? And if we can't work together because your higher ups say we can't, and you believe in our mission, why don't you just hop us and join us? Be a Don Brother. That's what I liked about the show. This show is not so much deep because it gives you a lot of deep sayings or deep thoughts. This show is deep because it takes a central concept and have people actively work through it to the end. And that's nice to see in a world where a lot of people are yap, 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 talk, talk, talk. And even TV shows are talk, 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 not show. That's why kids' TV shows are sometimes deeper than live action dramas. Okay, I am gonna cut it a little short today. We are shooting at 2:45, and I want to actually, let me get back. This is the end of the podcast, you guys. Yes, it is a little smaller than normal, but I want to make sure you guys get some good entertainment. So we are gonna hold off on the Digimon breakdown until next week. Yes, we are pushing Digimon 1 week because I actually did a full breakdown for Don Brothers and didn't even know it. So